All right, guys. I've got Chris Sweet with Swamp Rabbit moving in today. Appreciate you being here, bro.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, bright and early on a Monday morning. So, yeah, dude, I wanted to start off by asking you, Swamp Rabbit moving, right? You guys are huge. How did that get started, and what was your motivation to do that?
I was working at another local moving company here in the area, and my original plan was to open one in Asheville.
Yeah.
Just because I respected, where I worked at. At that time I had fear of like maybe stepping on their toes and
Right.
making them upset. And then I got to diving into Asheville and just, the terrain, how spread out the houses are, it just didn't make much sense. And plus my whole life's here. I grew up in Greenville.
Okay.
So yeah, I worked as a mover there, and there was a period of time where I had lost my license for a little while. So when I was working there, I didn't have my license. And as soon as I got my license, the next week I kicked Swamp Rabbit Moving off.
Nice, man. So when you first got started, I mean, was it just you, or did you have a crew with you, or how'd that start?
I had one or two guys that came from me where I was working at. Before I started Swamp Rabbit, I was already kind of doing, what they call side jobs.
Yeah.
There's an antique furniture store on Malden Road called the Rock House Antiques.
Yep. I grew up over by there.
That's kind of where I kicked off moving, like on my own. So I was doing all their deliveries. And then the deliveries led to people asking like, hey, I need this moved, or I'm moving down the road. Can you help with that? And, I just kind of picked it up. So I kind of already went into Swamp Rabbit Moving, kind of having a little bit of a clientele base.
Okay.
So it really helped out a lot.
Yeah. So when you first came over, first of all, what year was that?
That was 2020. So I started Swamp Rabbit October 13th, 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, I thought you'd been around for like a decade.
No.
Wow.
No,
Okay,
no.
that's impressive, man. I was talking a minute ago with you, but I just see y'all stuff everywhere, dude. I feel like I see you everywhere. You know, events, Guest and Brady events. I think I've seen you at some baseball games.
Yeah.
But y'all's branding, with the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, the hockey team and everything. But it's super cool, man. What's your big inspiration for branding and doing all that stuff?
Well, actually, like the name and the color and all that stuff kind of came not intentionally.
Yeah.
The name came from my mom. I threw out in the family group chat, hey, I'm going to start my own moving company. What should I name it?
Yeah.
She threw out that name. I liked it. It kind of let people know we were local without putting the city as our name.
Yeah.
So stuck with the name. And then my wife, she went to college with this girl that was a freelance designer.
Okay.
And she sent us a couple different color schemes with the logo and all that stuff, and the green and orange just kind of stuck out. It really felt like Greenville,
Yeah.
So
They're
that's just
unique
kind of
colors,
how the brand got formed. And by the grace of God, I think our brand's fantastic. We've done a couple revamps since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, man. Dude, I see y'all's trucks everywhere. I feel like every day. I passed one the other day. It was like Thursday or Friday morning on my way into the office.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I'm talking with Chris on Monday.
Well, our office is only 2 exits down.
Okay.
So, they're all coming this way in the morning and then in the
Okay.
afternoon to come back. Yeah, we're just right off exit 31, Old Stage Road.
Okay, yeah. I feel like I see them a lot over by East Standing Springs,
Yeah.
West Georgia, in that
At that
area.
Spinks area, yeah.
Okay, that
yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Those are our
I
stomping
passed him
grounds.
going by the Spinks. That's funny you said that.
Yep.
But okay, cool, man. So I know you've been getting into the gym a lot lately.
Yeah.
What was your big motivation to do that?
I had went to a doctor and they're like, "Oh, you're pre-diabetic and this and that." So it kind of kicked me off in the health journey. And then once I started working out, I just kind of fell in love. As a business owner, there's a lot of stress on you, and you got to find a way to blow off some of that steam. And that's just kind of like my sanctuary where I get to go and kind of stop thinking about work and just really focus on myself.
Yeah. Have you found? So I found with myself, I'll get into a split that I really like, and then 2 or 3 months later, I'm sick and tired of it, and I change constantly. Are you kind of the same way, or have you found something you really enjoy?
So I got a personal trainer I train with 5 days a week.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily because I need him. It's more so accountability, and plus he keeps my workouts, fresh and productive.
Okay.
It's not me just going in there every day doing the bro splits, because if it was up to me, I'd just be doing chest and arms every day.
Yeah. Dude, I've had such a hard time with that. I did the bro split for a while back when I was in college, and then I got really into the Arnold split.
Yeah.
I was doing push pull legs for a long time. I was doing upper lower, but my big thing is I really enjoy going. So I usually lift 5 or 6 days a week, but it's hard to not overtrain at that point. So
Yeah.
like I've found now in the past 2 or 3 years, I've gotten more into, like I used to do like with push-pull legs, you know, you would do chest and triceps.
Yeah.
But because I'm lifting a little bit more frequently, I've kind of toned it down. So I'll do like just arms one day, just legs one day, just chest one day.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because my workouts are a little bit shorter and I enjoy working out, but I think it keeps me from hurting myself because I tore my rotator cuff a few years ago, and that was not good. So
Yeah, that's a tough one to come back from. And,
yeah,
you know,
and it sucks because you can't do anything. You can't do back, chest. I mean, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Arms, obviously, for a couple of months for me. So it just really, slowed things down. But another thing I wanted to ask you about Swamp Rabbit, you've built such strong relationships with so many other businesses in the area. What has that experience been like for you?
It's been really cool. You know, prior to Swamp Rabbit moving, I maybe knew like 10 people.
Yeah.
And now it feels like I know of, a good bit of people in the area. And really what that came from is just starting out with, zero money. Like the only money I had going into Swamp Rabbit, I spent on a truck.
Yeah.
But going into that, I had to get out there and kind of shake hands and kiss babies and all that stuff. And it's just been a real pleasure. I met some of my best friends in the networking scene. Since I've kind of stepped back a little bit, but my team's still heavily involved in networking. But it's been really cool. It's a good way it's one of those things that takes time, right? It's not like, digital marketing where you spend dollars and you get dollars back right away.
Right.
You really have to invest that time in relationships and getting to know the people. But once those start to pay out, it's huge because typically those kind of referrals are, guaranteed jobs. If it's coming from word of mouth, they've already heard about you from a trusted source.
Yeah.
So it's, the conversion rate on referrals and stuff like that are much higher than like a Google PPC.
Right. Yeah. We refer to those as warm handoffs on our side.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we don't do a whole lot of cold calling anymore, but, we do cold calling and stuff. And you get somebody on the phone that they're not expecting that you're calling them, and they might be having a crappy day. You're liable to get cursed out. But,
why the hell are you calling me?
Yeah, it's like, dude, why are you calling me at 8:30? It's like, brother, this is just part of the
I got to
game,
do what
man.
I got to do, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be calling you either, but here we are. So
For sure.
I've actually had a few joking conversations of, hey, neither of us want to be on this phone call, so we might as well make the best of it.
Absolutely. Just give me 30 seconds and I'll be gone.
Give me 30 seconds. If you hate me, hang up.
Yeah.
Go on about your day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I think networking has been huge for me with growing. I'm in a networking group, and then just the biggest thing I think is just having that face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
The last episode that I did, I was meeting with one of my original real estate mentors, and we were kind of talking about how in today's day and age, there's not as much like face-to-face genuine conversation with people.
Yeah.
It seems like 9 times out of 10, if you're having dialect with somebody, it's either a text message, an email, a phone call, even a FaceTime or a Zoom now is getting really popular, but there's not a lot of that face-to-face anymore. But I think there's definitely something to that, building a genuine relationship with people and supporting each other through that.
For sure. It's definitely died. Like the face-to-face relationship has definitely died down since COVID, right? Like COVID was a good excuse to introduce Zoom really heavily. People were doing it prior, right? Because, you got a team member across the country you got to talk to, or even across the world you got to talk to, but it's become more prevalent since COVID.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point, too. I think social media was a huge starter for that, but once COVID hit, dude, it was just like, it was a hard stop on everything. But
people got accustomed to not needing like that human interaction,
Yeah. So you got started late 2020.
Yeah,
Okay.
Late 2020, and it was actually perfect timing for us, right? It was the big housing boom.
Right, yeah.
Interest rates were low. Houses were selling in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more demand than there was supply. So it really kind of helped us gain traction fast. Now, obviously, we still had to do a great job to continue getting referrals and build our reputation.
Right.
But it was definitely a huge, I wouldn't say huge factor, but it was definitely a factor in our success, so growing so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had, with the people that I've sent you guys to, I've always heard the same kind of response, and it's that we really felt like they were taking care of our stuff.
Yeah.
I think that there's, and you'd know a lot more about this than me, but I feel like in the moving industry, there's some stigma of like, they're just throwing stuff in a storage house. They're just throwing stuff in a truck. They're just throwing, people, I've heard a lot of people say that they worry about moving companies because they don't want their furniture damaged and stuff like that. Do you guys, is there like insurance with that? And like, how do y'all go about that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So you're completely right. There's a lot of shady business in the moving industry. There's a lot of great companies as well. Even in the area, there's a lot of great companies. But there's more so shady companies than there are great companies. And that's because, it's a cheap barrier to entry, right? Like you can just go rent a U-Haul and say, hey, I'm a mover. Not legally, but,
sure.
it happens on a daily basis. And,
Yeah.
you have no experience or really no care to please the customer. You're just in it for the money.
Yeah, you're looking for a paycheck.
Or you get a broker, and they sell you a move on a really cheap rate, and then they source it out to another company. And then that's how you hear about those scenarios where stuff gets held hostage or your price doubles, all that good stuff. But, at Swamp Rabbit, it's important enough for us to, more so than anything, even more so than growing, is to maintain our reputation and provide a great quality. And it really starts with who you bring in. So we're not looking for moving's not. It's a skill, but it's a trainable skill, very easy trainable skill. Mm-hmm. We're more so looking at who they are as a person, their character. Would I want them in my house around my wife and my kids?
Sure.
And then it starts with a training process. A lot of companies, they hire you and the next day you're on a job.
Yeah.
We're really heavy into training. Like, the first 2 days you're with our production manager for 6 hours a day. And then the next week you're with one of our top guys, kind of under his wing while you're out in the field moving and learning. But yeah, that's kind of really how we approach that. Now, there's cases where we still get duds, right? Like it's just inevitable that, we get somebody in there and it's something goes wrong.
Right.
But we're really quick to snip those out and get rid of them fast.
Yeah. That's a hard part is, at least for me, acknowledging that maybe someone's not a good fit.
Yeah. No, it took me a long time, because I'm one of those people that I just want to see the good in everybody and I want everybody to succeed. Mm-hmm. So it took me a long time to get on that train of I wouldn't say ruthless, but I would say, protection of the team is first and foremost. You got one bad apple, it's a cancer to everybody.
Right, yeah, and protecting the culture of the team is really important too. And it's hard to do. That's something that I think a lot of people miss on because they get more growth focused and they sort of outgrow the culture that they built.
There's been a point in time where I was in that phase a little bit, just to be 100% frank. 2 years ago, we were just let's go.
Right.
And we saw the repercussions of it and we're like, all right, let's slow down.
Yeah.
Let's rethink and let's take the proper steps to grow in a respectable way.
Yeah. Sometimes taking a step or two back is the best thing to do in the long run. Mm-hmm. But I just saw you post on Facebook the other day. You guys are in Columbia now, right?
April 1st.
Okay.
So, but we have everything lined up.
Yeah.
We got the warehouse. We won't be doing storage there. Mm-hmm. And then we got the trucks lined up. But yeah, we're launching in Columbia. So after my first year at Greenville Swamp Rabbit, Swamp Rabbit move in Greenville, I thought I had the Midas touch. I was like, oh, this is easy. I could do this in Charleston. And we went to Charleston. I was like, we're going to go to Charleston. 2 weeks later, we were in Charleston.
Yeah.
And it was terrible.
Really?
It was terrible. From a revenue perspective, we were doing great. From an operation perspective, we were doing terrible. We were not meeting the expectations that I would expect out of our company.
Yeah.
And it had gotten to the point where it was either, I hire somebody like an operations manager and I go down there for 3 or 4 months because I couldn't just put somebody in that hole and expect them to claw out.
Yeah.
It was going to take some time for me. And so we just decided to shut down. Re-strategize and then go back, with a proper game plan in place. But this time, we got all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted.
Yeah.
We got an operations manager already ready to roll. He's been actually training for the past 3-4 months. So execution is not out of the question on this one. We're super excited, and we're just going to make our way down 26. So, we got Columbia, we got Charleston. Then we'll probably wind up in Conway, Fort Mill, Hilton Head. Our mission statement is to be the largest in South Carolina while maintaining the highest quality to better impact our community. So we're out to conquer the state.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's super exciting that you guys are expanding that way too. It's also, I find it really impressive that you were able to acknowledge that, hey, the first time that move didn't work. And, we learning from your mistakes, I think, is something, because a lot of people are hard-headed with that kind of stuff and they don't want to learn from their mistakes or acknowledge where they messed up, but that's super important for growth. That's
100% how I got to where I'm at. I'm not the smartest guy in the room by far.
You're probably the smartest guy in this room.
No, definitely not. But I'm willing to take chances, and I'm willing to make mistakes, and I'm willing to analyze those mistakes when they happen and learn from them. So, like, I don't get slowed down by decisions.
Yeah.
Something pops in my mind. I run it by my team. We all think it's a feasible idea, then we run with it, right? And we give it 100% and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, then we pivot.
Yeah. At least that way you can say you gave it your all too.
100%. And and you learn. It's like real life college experience, because during those failures you lose money, right? So
yeah.
I just chalk it up as a learning lesson.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Where about in Columbia is the warehouse?
So we're a mile from the William Bryce Stadium. So we're on
like
Dreyfus.
Shop Road area?
Huh?
Like Shop Road area?
I don't know Columbia too well.
Okay.
To be quite honest, I'm not a huge fan of Columbia.
Yeah.
But
I don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
I lived there for a while.
I just know we're a mile from the William Bryce Stadium on Dreyfus Road. So there's a couple like fraternity and sorority houses on like the road our warehouse is on.
Okay, I know about where that is. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of industrial space over off of Shop Road by the stadium, so I wasn't sure if that's where you guys kind of were. But
probably.
That's a good spot too, though, because you're right by the highway. You can shoot up to Charlotte really quickly,
Yep.
and then obviously down to Charleston or Greenville.
Yep. And we're right downtown too.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And you guys, with your branding and stuff, the way you guys do things, I'm sure you'll build a really big name there really quickly too.
Yeah, we're excited.
But so you guys move across the country, right?
We do. So now we really try not to go past Texas.
Okay.
Just because we have to price so high and we still don't make, great margin.
Yeah.
We just found like Texas and over is our sweet spot. Anything 3 days and under is a really good spot for us to be. So that's kind of where we stay. During the wintertime, you might find us venturing a little bit past Texas.
Yeah.
But during peak season, we really just try to stay Texas and over. I used to let my ego get in the way. I was like, oh, man, we're
California.
We'll go wherever, But now I look at it from a more logical perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's just not feasible for us to go.
Yeah. So I've never worked in the moving industry. What does that look like so you send a crew out to move someone to, Dallas, Texas, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like for that truck? I mean, because obviously you have to cover some type of hotel expense or something. So they're staying overnight in like hotels in between.
Yep. So they're staying overnight in hotels. Typically we'll send the truck out. They can only drive 11 hours out of the day. Mm-hmm. They can have a total of 14 working hours, so they could work 3 hours and then drive 11 hours. But you can't move that driving time. Like they couldn't drive 14 hours even if they didn't work that day. So we'll send our crew out, same crew that goes out and loads it up will be the same crew that unloads it on wherever you're going.
Okay, so they're familiar with it.
They're familiar with it. It makes the process a lot easier, and also it makes it a little bit less stressful, right? Like, if you don't know who's showing up, there's going to be some level of anxiety that you're going to get.
Sure.
A good crew or a crew that you would trust around your house or your kids or whatever. So it just brings a little bit more ease to the move.
Yeah. And do you have different sets of movers? Like, do you guys that just do local stuff, and then you have guys that do out of state?
Yeah, we got dedicated guys for long distance. We're doing long distance moves daily.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Any areas specifically that you see a lot of them?
We're doing a lot of Florida.
Okay.
Florida would probably be our number one.
Yeah.
And then a lot of Northeast. So like New York, New Jersey.
Okay.
We try not to go into the city too much. There's just so much that goes with it.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
Parking's a pain. You're always guaranteed a parking ticket. You got to hire somebody to watch the truck, while you're unloading it.
Yeah.
It's just a big hassle. The tolls are outrageous.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of New Jersey, a lot of upstate New York, a lot of Ohio.
Yeah.
A lot of Chicago, like Illinois area.
And those are people moving here from those areas?
Yeah, or vice versa,
Okay. Yeah.
Mainly, I would say in, but we still get a lot of out to those areas too. And I would probably just chalk it up as like a job relocation. Like I couldn't imagine anybody wanting to move from Greenville.
I know, right?
To New York or New Jersey or,
Yeah.
But, sometimes people get jobs and they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah. Do you have like any type of a mentor, like a coach or anything?
Yeah, so when I first started, I pretty much started Swamp Rabbit with a mentor. Like the guy I started with, he was just a sales guy at one point for a college hunks, and I was just a mover at that time. He was kind of getting started in like doing recruiting business for the moving industry, and so I reached out to him just to kind of learn like how the back end operates. I never really saw that side of things. I got a GED, so I'm not like savvy, business savvy, or anything like that. And then I just kind of evolved that coach over time. Like, I got to where I needed to get with him, moved to the next level, got to where I needed with him, moved to the next level. Right now, I'm not personally working with a coach. I'm working with a consultant. So he kind of like dabbles actually in the business.
Okay.
And we don't work directly like one-on-one, but now that I got a lot of friends that I look up to, I just kind of rely on them as mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have people that can kind of help ground you with stuff like that.
It does, and it really helps bridge the gap.
Yeah.
It really does. It truly does, because they see it from a different perspective than you see it.
Right.
When it's your business, it's your baby, and
yeah, it's very emotional.
It's very emotional. When you can draw those emotions out of it and have somebody think logical, it definitely helps catapult you into a different level.
Yeah, for sure. When I did your podcast, I remember you asked me if there was a moment that sticks out to me with my business, and I talked about my first closing that I had. I had a guy that, he cried in the parking lot and gave me a big hug and said it was the biggest day of his life. His first time home buyer. And that just happened to be my first closing. But has there been like a moment where you've really looked and just thought like, wow, I'm really doing this, or like a life-changing experience for you or anything like that?
Man, it's every day.
Yeah.
It's every day. It's pretty surreal. I'd never imagined that we grew to the size we are. And honestly, I would have been happy, running 3 or 4 trucks every day.
Yeah.
It really kind of kicked in when we got our first office over. There's been a couple points that stood out. When we got our first office over in the airport, it's like a little 700 square foot office. And like that first summer that we were running, pulling up and having like 20 U-Hauls in the back of it.
Yeah.
It's just pretty surreal. Like just dispatching like that many trucks at one time at that point in my life was just like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then when we went from that 700 square foot office over to the 40,000 square foot warehouse, that was pretty surreal. It was
it's quite the jump.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Because there was so much behind that story. Like I was waiting on an SBA loan to kick in to kind of help subsidize that.
Yeah.
And it got delayed. For some of my tax filings were off. So like I had been filing as an S corp, and I was still registered as an LLC. So I had to go back and fix that.
Oh, and you had to backdate stuff.
And then I had to backdate it.
Yeah.
Reconcile or whatever you call it.
Right.
For it to go through. So I had to like front all the investment over on that side until SBA kicked in. And I was down to like almost my last dollar, and then the SBA finally kicked in. And then it took a while to fill up too, but like now walking into it's just cool because, it's majority of it's full. It's just every day is truly a blessing, and every day is pretty surreal, Yeah. I don't have one specific moment. And it's also cool to like see guys grow and develop with inside the company, right? Like, it's few and far between that somebody does something truly remarkable to better their life, but it's cool when you get to realize and see those moments. And you get to be a little part of it. I wouldn't say, obviously it's them doing the work. But, maybe it's something you said, maybe it's somebody on your leadership team said, and it really kind of sparked that fire in them, and you get to go see them, like, elevate their career.
Yeah. That's a huge part of why I wanted to start a team, too. Like, when my life changed so quickly with real estate, dude. I went from, my last year working at Publix before I came over to real estate, I was making, like, $40,000 a year. And it's not even that that's like bad money, but I was working a job that I genuinely hated. Like I was one of those people that, dude, I woke up in the morning and I hated going to work, man. And I would sit there and just count the clock all day. And I got so bad that even, when I was off work, I couldn't enjoy my time off because I knew that when Monday or Tuesday or whatever rolled back around, I had to be back in. Yeah. So within like a 2-year span, like, obviously my bank account looked way different, but just my quality of life, like just the happiness that I was experiencing and having a real sense of purpose, like getting to help people. So when I train agents and when they come on and when I get to see them experience the same thing, dude, it's so rewarding because it's like, man, what a incredible industry we work in. Like what a blessing it is to help other people experience those things too.
It's really cool. And y'all are essentially just business owners, right? Like,
Yeah, we're all it's independent contractors,
Yeah.
so it's 100% commission based, and
Yeah.
that's why real estate is, for a lot of people, it doesn't work out. I think it's
Yeah.
like 80% of agents drop out in their first 2 years, but it's difficult, man. It's so hard, and that's another thing too, that there's a lot of, in any industry, right? There's always going to be some type of like rivalry, or like, oh well, that agent doesn't work with me, so like they're the competition, or like stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I just genuinely, I don't ever feel that way, and I try to always, even when people are unprofessional towards me, like I try to just always treat them with kindness, because I know that they're going through a lot of stressful stuff too, and I know what it's like to have a slow month or slow months in this industry, and
Yeah.
it's, you never know what the other person's experiencing. So I just try to ground myself with that, and just I always try to treat other agents with respect, because I know how stressful this job can be.
100%.
Even though everyone on the internet thinks it's easy and that anyone can do it.
You
But-
just show houses and sign the contract,
right, yeah. Oh man, anybody can open a door. It's like, well, yeah, but that's like the easiest part.
Did that deal go through that you were talking about for the $400 or whatever? I saw you post about that.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
like 2 days
so-
before closing.
Yeah.
About to shoot the deal over $400.
Yeah, that one closed. I've been doing some of these little funny. I did one yesterday that's gotten a lot of response too. I had a kind of bad experience with a new construction company,
Yeah.
but yeah, that one did go through. But dude, you would be surprised how often, like, it could be the smallest thing, dude.
Yeah.
I've had people where, we're doing a final walkthrough, and the buyers are like mad that the sellers took, I mean, like just the smallest stuff. And it's like personal property stuff too. Like, oh, well, I hope they would have left those rocking chairs on the front porch. It's like, well, they didn't. And
They're theirs.
yeah, they're theirs. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing in the contract. And, we spoken,
Yeah.
in depth about, what things stay and what things don't. But,
For sure.
people will freak out over the smallest stuff, man. It's just such an
Yeah.
emotional thing. And most of the time when people are moving, it's because of a life event, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe they got a new job promotion. Maybe they're moving from out of state. They might be going through a divorce, or, it's always something emotional. So that's kind of the part too, where like, I joke around, sometimes it's almost like we're therapists.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to just be that voice of reason for people. But
For sure.
yeah, dude, it's that one. They were about to blow the whole thing up over $500, and I was like, dude, you're about to make $300,000 when you sell this house.
Yeah.
You're gonna tank it over $500.
Come on now.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're closing in 6 hours.
This isn't the COVID market where you
Yeah.
could have another deal on the table.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's also crazy how different the market is from when it was because I got started around the same time you did,
Yeah.
ironically. But it's definitely a different market now.
Have you still seen like a growth trend in your area?
Yeah.
As far as
so,
you personally?
Yeah, so every single year I've outperformed my previous year.
That's awesome.
And every agent on the team has done the same. But the thing is that I think the part that people miss is people online see that, the average home in the upstate's taken like 70 days to sell right now.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, well, during COVID, homes were selling in 5 days, so that must mean the market sucks. But they're not really, you're comparing apples to oranges.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the market where it is now is very comparable to where it was in like 2018, 2019,
Yeah.
before the boom, which was a very healthy market. But everything is perspective, right? So the most frustrating ones right now are the people who are trying to sell their home currently, who bought it during COVID, because they just don't understand why. Well, when I bought the house, there was 5 offers on it in the first 2 days, and now we've been listed for a month and we've only had 3 or 4 showings. How come it hasn't sold?
Yeah.
But they think that means that something's wrong with the house, or that the market just sucks. But in reality, it's a healthier market now. It's just things take a little bit of time to move.
Are you finding people that kind of like overpaid during COVID are kind of having to take a loss right now?
Some, I have one in particular that comes to mind with that. She bought very late COVID. I mean, it was like, I want to say she bought it in like the spring of 2022. It was right when rates started going up. But she bought in a bidding war and paid like 20 grand over list price.
Oh gosh.
And then she also sold that house very quickly. Like, I think we listed her house in either the fall of 2024 or maybe the spring of last year. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
But she was only in it for about 2.5 years. And so when we went to sell it, she had paid like, I think it was listed at 360. She had paid 380. We were only able to get her 400 for it because it just hadn't been long enough for her to build more equity. But she had also put money into the house. Like, she had updated the deck with Trex, and she had done a lot of other updates to the home. If she hadn't done that, she may have not really, she probably would have just broke even when she sold it.
Yeah.
But it's not that she, the home sold for more than what she bought it for. It's just when you overpay that much, like in a bidding war, and she went over the appraisal too. Like the house only appraised at 360, so she paid more for it knowingly on the front end.
Yeah.
But it just took more time for her to get equity in it. But because she had to move because of a life event, it just sort of screwed that up for her.
I got you.
But the biggest thing with real estate is time kind of heals all wounds like that. So, I mean, unless you just have to move. Like if you get one of the agents on my team, David, he has a listing right now that's under contract, but the seller just bought the house like 10 months ago, and they got their dream job offer in Texas, and he was like, I got to go. Like, I got to take it. And so, he had to just list the house knowing that he was going to probably lose money on it after paying realtors and everything, but it's just such a unique scenario that it was worth it because it was a dream job. But,
absolutely.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about, dude, I'm trying to be an advocate as much as I can for men's mental health. I've dealt with a lot of things in the past that I think I've struggled with, and a big part of my struggle was just not talking to people about it. Have you ever dove into therapy or anything like that, or have you ever experienced anything like that?
Have I ever been to therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a victim of mental health and all that good stuff. I came from a long line of addiction, kind of fell in that myself.
Yeah.
During those times, I definitely had some dark moments. But yeah, I've definitely went through my fair share of therapy.
Yeah. Is there anything you would say to people that are kind of, there's definitely a stigma to that with men's mental health in particular.
It's like you're weak, It's like,
right.
especially from a men's perspective, like you feel weak, you feel, you don't want to let people know you're vulnerable. But really, one thing I would say is just God loves you and you're worth it. Find some help, talk to somebody, find a friend. Just reach out for help, because it's not weak. It's actually strength to recognize that you're going through something, and then to not only recognize it, but reach out and ask for help. Yeah,
that's powerful, man. And it's something that I think our society definitely needs to work on. One last thing that I did want to ask you for sure. You have been a really big inspiration to me with just watching you grow your company and your team and everything. What would you say, to anyone that's looking to start a business or, take a risk or take a bet on themselves? What would you say to that person that's considering taking the leap?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, do it in something that you're an expert in or that you're willing to become an expert in really fast.
Yeah.
Because if you're only in it for the money and you're doing something that you don't love or you don't have passion for, especially your first gig, it's going to be really hard to buy in and to work those long days, to miss time with your family, to reinvest back into your business if you don't have that love and passion for what you're doing. I would also say don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's never been a person in the world that started a business and been 100% perfect all the time.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier, like mistakes is where like success is found.
Right.
Those are where you learn and actually gain traction moving forward based on real life experience. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, fail fast, make educated decisions, and don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, for sure, man. Last thing, where can people find you? Where can people find Swamp Rabbit? I feel like you guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
But kind of a redundant question, but where should people look if they want to contact Swamp Rabbit?
So if you want to look for me personally, you can just find me on Facebook. I'm an old guy. I don't really do Instagram. So just look me up, Chris Sweet. And then Swamp Rabbit, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. And then you go to www.swamprabbitmoving.com. Read up about us, looking to move. You can fill out a quote form, and one of my sales reps will reach out to you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here, dude.
Thanks for having me. It's been
Sweet.
fun. Awesome.